Hey everybody, what's up? It's me2, and welcome back to another episode of the Pokemon Plush Living Dex. If you guys do not know, the Pokemon Plush Living Dex is my personal collection. I have been trying to build it, getting every single Pokemon in plush form, starting from Bulbasaur and going all the way to recent releases. And today is another bug spectacular day. I got a whole bunch of brand new bug types, some Sitting Cuties, some Pokédolls that I got to add to my collection. I'm so excited. Most of these, of course, are going to be Unova. However, I did sprinkle in a few extras here and there. So without further ado, I say let's get right into it, guys, and let's show off these brand new Pokemon plushes. So starting out for Pokédolls, I got this amazing, huge Sentis Scorch Pokemon doll. I know that I've been getting a lot of the cheaper Pokemon, and it consists here as well as Gin. This is one of the cheapest Pokédolls you can find, I believe at $11.99, so the same prices of Sitting Cuties. However, look at the length of this Pokemon plush. That is a pretty big boy for a pretty cheap plushie, and I will definitely take it. The coloration is great. I used one in my Sword and Shield playthrough on Instagram. I had mine named Torbjorn, so having one officially as a plushie is awesome. I still need to get his pre-evolution, but that is going to be in the future. He has printed on fabric, of course, with Generation 8. That seemed to be the more popular thing to do. I believe before that, it's whenever they actually did like the hand sewing or the machine sewing or whatever. But no, it looks like now they are on to the era of printing the fabric on, which there's some portions where they don't end up doing that. So, I mean, it works out either way. I think it's a pretty decent plush for what it is. Of course, you're going to be seeing this with all the other tags. We have the very boring tag. Even though they were not producing this back whenever Generation 8 was going out, they had better looking tags. Now they just give it on the cheap one, no matter how old the plushie is. It's a bit disappointing, but you know what? We make it through, and I'll just be sad. Infernopod, that is a pretty cool name. That would have been a really interesting one to have as the English name. But Scorch works too, and Torbjorn also is amazing. So, it's officially added Torbjorn to our Pokemon plush collection. Next up, after grabbing this Pokemon, it officially only needs the middle evolution, and we have completed the full line. We don't count Megas, of course, and that is Venipede. Shout out to that one YouTuber a few months ago that did a shiny hunting video, and she ended up becoming the Venipede gal. I love that video so much, and I'm so happy to see some more Venipede love. I think the shiny looks really great. I am yet to grab one on my Legends ZA copy. However, I am definitely going to need to because I love Venipede, and the fact that I finally got to use one in a ZA playthrough on my personal one on my Instagram, that was also amazing as well. But yeah, this Venipede plushie is the Sitting Cutie, of course. Super cute. I do love how chonky he is. Look at that chonk and look at that eye. There seems to only be a little bit of printed on fabric. You could tell right here with the little, what would these even be? Whiskers? Ears? Antennas. They would be antennas. That's what it would be. I completely forgot about bug logic, so we're gonna move on right there. But yeah, it looks like that. But also you get to these, and they're the exact same thing. These are what, a tail? I don't know. Pokemon bugs are so confusing, but that seems to be the only part that actually has any printed on fabric. Of course, this portion is sewn on, everything like that. And then I thought this part would be printed on fabric because it matches it basically perfectly. However, this is actually just regular fabric added on there. So, you know what? They could have made it printed on fabric and probably just attached it from the head onto the body. And they just did a little bit more. So, kudos to Pokemon Center, I guess. It's kind of hard to get a Sitting Cutie of Venipede badly. I think that he works out really well for what he is. He's a very condensed Pokemon plush. Not too many big pieces to add onto there. So I think they were able to make him work really well. Whenever you get to those more complex Pokemon, that's whenever it starts getting a little bit harder. But I think for what they did with Venipede was really well made. Next up, one of the first few bug type Pokemon I ever got whenever I started my collection was a Selgor. I love a Selgor, mainly because he reminds me of my Apex Legends main, who I have not played in a long time, and that is Octane. And I ended up grabbing him back when he was the Band Presto keychain before the Sitting Cuties actually had the Unova line. Now, with the Unova line, I can officially add Shelmet. And I'm just adding a bunch of the weird ones out right now, but you know what? I will take it. More Unova love for my collection. Probably before anything, Unova will be the ones that I finish. So that is something to look forward to. But oh my goodness, this Pokemon plush is so long. The face looks really great. It is a very simple plush again, although I would say it might be a little bit more complex to try to mix it and make it work as the Venipede, but I think they did perfectly with what they had. The face, like I said, simple. They just have two distinct color patterns right here, and it's not printed on fabric. However, it's very scratchy for this kind of fabric, so that's a whole different fabric added on that isn't printed or the default pattern they would use, which I definitely add points to. And then going on to the hard shell, looks like a knight shell, which I can appreciate. That is an awesome looking plush. Very, very simple. I'm not the biggest fan of Shelmet. The Selgor is kind of where I go whenever I think of this evolution line. Shelmet was just kind of there for the ride whenever I first got it. I think I even maybe just traded it automatically as soon as I got it, because I have like 15 copies of Black and White, so that makes it easy for me. But I just kind of traded it over, was able to get that going, and I think this works out really well for a plushie. Again, not my most popular favorite Pokemon to really add to the collection, but it completes the Selgor line, so I will take it. However, in correspondence with the Shelmet and a Selgor line, there is a few Pokemon that matches it that you actually need in order to get them. That being Carablast and Escavalier. Starting out with Carablast, he looks, honestly, he reminds me very much of the Jack-specific mini plush Pokemon plushies. He is so small, and he kind of has that same kind of pattern that you would see with those older plushies. Like, comparing it to Tepig, this looks like it could possibly just be in the same line as him. I don't know why the fabric looks so much older, like it's been through a lot more than some of these other ones. But you know what? I kind of dig it. It looks like a callback to it, so I will take it. I really like the idea of having some of these Pokemon kind of look like older Pokemon plushies, especially when you go back to, like, even right now with the 30th anniversary, the fact that we're having like that Pikachu, the Chonkachu that I have, how they're remaking that again, that is awesome. And it looks like they carry on, even if they did not mean to for Carablast. They have that same kind of fabric you would have seen probably back in the 2010s, 2011s, and I appreciate it. I do like my good share of yellow and blue Pokemon, so definitely a nice quick ball Pokemon to add to the collection. The grays work out really well. The blues, like I said, I like the way that it looks when it's kind of looks aged up already. So it has that nice little sensation to it. But the blue itself, definitely a beautiful color. It's not as yellow as the actual quick ball that you would see in the games. However, I think it works. The eyes also look so cute. The face, very nice. Just a simple Pokemon plushie again. A lot of these are going to be simple. That is the good part about the bug type Pokemon. One more that I have that I just showed you guys, that might be a different story. I haven't looked at him quite too much. However, I'm hoping he maybe has the same extent when it comes to how he looks as Carablast or the other bug Pokemon. Let's pull him out, shall we? Here we go, Escavalier, and you can already tell he is a little bendy right now. You can see his arms are not held up by a whole lot of material, so that probably caused in the packaging and the boxing his arms to kind of go wonky, where one will be up like this and one will be down. I've been trying to tease him up to actually have it matching. One thing that really annoys me is his headpiece. This part is not staying up or down the middle like it should. That is the annoying part. That's kind of the part that I've also learned with printed fabric. It's a lot harder to really tease and keep up. You can already see that that headpiece is bent and folded, and it just does not look too pleasing. And of course, like I said, printed on fabric right there. The biggest case of printed on fabric. Oh my gosh, that is a whole lot of it. Even though they are uneven, I do like his pointers right here. They are pretty cool looking. They are a little wonky, but also it's a small little sharp piece, so it's going to be very hard to actually stuff properly. So I get it. If it doesn't look as best, that's probably why. And then going on and taking a look at the face, looks very much like Carablast, of course. It doesn't use the same blue material as Carablast. That is, I don't even know what kind of material exactly that is. However, the stitching line is not the best. So yeah, out of the whole gang, this one's probably the least accurate or the least pleasant to look at. However, like I have said numerous times, it is so hard to get these full of all Pokemon right, especially in the sitting cutie form. So I mean, I got to add them to the collection, that's what matters, but still kind of disappointing with what we got. But that is okay. We will figure it out from here. He's officially added to the collection. He'll still get as much love as some of my other sitting cuties, I guess. But if you're needing a Escavalier plushie, I recommend him, I guess. But yeah, guys, here is all of the brand new Pokemon added to the collection. Whole bunch of bug Pokemon, and I love them. I love them so much. So if you are planning to grab any of these bug Pokemon, I would love to know which one is your favorite bug Pokemon. Please feel free to answer down below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. That would be very helpful for me. Still growing, even though we just recently hit 1,000 subscribers, which I really appreciate you. We want to make 2026 a big year as well. So without further ado, I will see you guys next time. Peace out.